The Trippi Coaching Podcast is sponsored by Hairborn Salon.
At the forefront of the hairdressing world since 1997.
The latest news at Hairborn Salon, located at Lombard, Illinois, is the new addition to the team, Sophie. Sophie moved to the area from the East Coast and is now providing color and haircut services at the salon Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
You can check out her work on Instagram at _styledbysophie_ and give Hairborn a call at 630-785-6862 to book your next appointment. And remember to tell them that the Trippi Coaching Podcast sent you, and you will receive an additional 10% off.
Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Andrea, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to start off the show by saying thank you to all the people who have been listening. I don't think you can ever say thank you enough, but we're just about 6-7 weeks into this show now, and in that time it's been really gratifying and cool to get the response that we've had and have people come up and tell us about things that they listened to or walked away with and have started implementing in their lives, and we appreciate them and you all telling us about it, because it lets us know that we're doing something here, because a lot of the time we feel like we're the only ones listening, and then it's nice when somebody comes up and they're like, oh well, I'm on episode 4, I've got 3 to go, and but I'm loving it, I've shared it with my friends and everything. So
I thank you all from the bottom of my heart too. And Tommy and I frequently talk throughout the week about our wins throughout our days. And when your clients come up to you or show up to a session and they're looking a little bit different and they're shining a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, you look nice. And they go, well, I listened to your podcast about putting yourself together. And I thought that, I feel better with my makeup on and my hair's done. And it was a different session. It was a completely different session. So thank you, everybody, for showing up and for listening. And
well, that brings happiness into our lives, and so for that we're very grateful.
We know that not just my mom and dad are listening,
right?
Even though they're the first to comment and thumbs up. So we also have a few updates at the end of the show, so please listen for that. We're excited. Some exciting news coming up for you guys. But before we get started in our podcast today, I wanted to try a little bit of a different approach to our normal formats and let you get to know the man that you're learning to know and love, and that is who else but Tommy Else here. He is not only a good friend, he is a fantastic co-host, and he is now a good partner of mine. And Tommy and I go way back, and we might as well and we always wondered, like, how are we going to tell these people
like what our association is?
How we really know each other, because we go back 20 years at least.
Yes.
So here it is. Ready? Drum roll. I was married to Tommy's dad, and Tommy was a young teenager when I came into the family, and we always had a love for fitness together. And Tommy went through, was it your first show or was it your
second? No, it was my first show. You were there for that.
Yeah. And
bodybuilding show.
Bodybuilding, yeah. And he was, he did so well and he looked so well. And I was just really proud to be there and to be part of his whole fitness journey. So to be doing this.
You've known me almost half my life. Easily. I was 19.
Yeah.
So, and I guess I'm 44 now, whether I like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. And I'm that much older. So,
but,
and before we dive into this conversation with Tommy, I took a few notes on him I wanted to give you the insight that I have, because he is just a fantastic guy. And the first word that when I talk about Tommy, the first thing I say is he's so loyal. He's one of the most loyal guys out there. But or and he is not not but, there's no but about
but
this. He's not only a personal trainer, he's a former professional wrestler with Resistance Pro Tag Team Champion. Did I say that right?
I was
Besides screwing up the champion part.
I was formerly a active professional wrestler. I still do matches once in a blue moon, but yeah, I was a part of an organization called Resistance Pro, and at one point, yes, was with my partner Brady Pierce. We held the tag team championships.
I was there for that too, which is
Yes,
kind of cool.
yes.
And you know what sets Tommy apart is as a trainer. Let's talk about your training. Is first of all, he has a wealth of knowledge, and best thing about Tommy is his ability to pivot. I mean, he can see somebody and look at them and assess them and give them a customized workout plan right on the dot. I've seen you do it. Tommy has a bedside manner that is rare in the fitness industry. He's kind, he's patient, he's incredibly supportive, and his nurturing approach is just so motivating to all of his clients. As I said in the beginning, he is loyal beyond belief. So, he's been a real blessing to me in getting this podcast up and running. So I thank you right here
Well, I,
from the bottom of my heart, and I'm really happy to be working with you in this capacity.
well, and I'm honored, and I appreciate being a part of it as well. So thank you.
So you're welcome. So as we bring Tommy into this conversation, I want you to keep in mind his incredible blend of expertise, his personalization, his genuine care that he brings to this world of fitness. Tommy, hi. Here we are.
I guess I'm in the hot seat today.
You are in the hot seat. So, you know, we had a little question answer just in that introduction, but tell us what started you in this fitness industry. Here you are, 19 years old. I think we posted a video of you working out too to
Yeah, we
match this
did.
conversation.
I was 16 going on 17 in that video. Well, I mean, from when I was a little kid, both of my parents were fitness conscious, and then inevitably they got into competitive bodybuilding. But even before that, when they were just working out just to exercise, when I was a kid, I was the kid in the nursery, sitting there waiting for my parents to finish working out. But to me, it was like it looked like this big adult playground out there, and I just thought,
Sometimes it is.
yeah, and I was, and I just was like, well, I want to play on all those machines, and I want to pull that, and I want to, do that, and I don't know, it just looked fun, and I wasn't allowed to do it, so I just, I think it built up in me, and then so by the time I think it was 15, and the local gym that my parents belonged to was called Jaegers, and it was
Mhm.
of just will always go down in my art. I'll never find a gym that was better than it. But I love that place. And when I turned 15 for my birthday, my father had gotten me a membership there, and I just started going to the gym like every day. And it wasn't long before one of my father's good friends, Larry Weiss, sort of took me under his wing. It was neat because, because everyone knew my folks at the gym and everything. When I started working out there, everybody was real friendly and open to me and like showing me how to do things and having me, they'll like, come here and work, work in with me here. Let's do some chest together or something. So I got to learn from, a very nice community of people and stuff. I really actually worked out very little with my parents ever. But Larry, who was my father's friend, like I said, um, he would get to the gym. He would work with me anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. Other people had sports and theater and things like that. And my after school time was in the gym with him. And I owe my entire career to him because proper form, just the variety of exercises, everything I learned from him. He started you with a 5 pound dumbbell. And unless you could do, the exercise with perfect form, you didn't go up to the next one and to the next one and so on and so forth. Like you had to do it all with good form. And so even in my own workouts when I'm by myself, I hear him in my head telling me to adjust
That's
this or
cool.
things like that. And then when I'm working with other clients, I hear him through me saying the
Mm,
same things to him. So anyway, I really fell in love with it. I was, I had good genetics, I think, for it too, and so I saw results, and it just felt good. It felt good to work out, and I felt like it was something I was good at. On the other side, as far as diet and stuff, with my parents competing in competitions, they were always, if it wasn't one of them, it was the other one, and they were on, bodybuilding style diets and stuff. So I learned a lot about nutrition as far as protein and carbs and vegetables and what has what and all that sort of stuff. So it just became kind of a second nature thing. It was like I didn't need to take a course on it necessarily. It was like I just, you learn stuff along the way and everything. And so, as far as personal training, it seemed like a natural fit for me, but one that I was against for a long time. When I graduated high school, I really wanted to be a phys ed teacher. I thought just being a gym teacher was kind of the natural route for me to go. But at the time, the market for phys ed teachers was really bad. They were phasing out a lot of physical
mhm.
education in schools. And even though the entire phys ed department, thought I would be a great, you know, phys ed teacher, they were like, by the time you go through school and everything, you're going to get out there, the market's already flooded, they're not getting paid enough and all that. And so they actually talked me out of it. But then I was kind of still floundering and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I worked about a million different Joe jobs in the meantime. And people always ask me, they're like, why don't you be a personal trainer? And the reason I didn't want to be a personal trainer was because at the time, the only options available to me was to be a personal trainer at a gym like Export or Bally's was around then and stuff.
Yeah.
And the problem is that when you are a personal trainer there, you're about 90% salesperson and 10% personal trainer. You don't have very much control over the actual workouts or the diet that the person is on, or their nutrition. You are pushing supplements on them that they don't need, and you have to meet your sales goals, and all of that affects. And that's just like, I don't want any of that. I'm not a good salesperson because I can't push something on someone who I know doesn't need it, you know?
Right.
Um, and there was just no environment where you could just be a personal trainer. But I did one day, I mean, this was just fate. I was out on a walk going through Wheaton, and I walked past a place, and it was called Fitness Together,
Mhm.
and it was said one-on-one private personal training. And so I went home and I Googled it, and I looked it up, and that's exactly what it was. It was a place, I don't even know if they're still around anymore, but it was a place where you got, if you buy like say 20 sessions or whatever, and each session it was just you and a trainer in your own private room that had all the equipment in it and everything. The trainer had 100% control over the workouts and your nutrition,
Mhm.
and then they had nice amenities like you could shower, and there were towels and soaps and all that stuff for
It was a
everybody and stuff.
boutique style
Yeah.
gym.
And so I looked it up, and then I applied. So then I thought, well, because they don't sell anything otherwise, they're not pushing, they don't sell any products at all. So it was just personal training and nutrition. And so I applied there, got the job, and in about 6 months was the manager of the location, and then worked there for the next 2.5, 3 years before the owners had sold it off. But in that time, I mean, that's where I really,
You learned the business there, didn't you?
yeah, I mean, I learned how it worked. And as a personal trainer, it's like you're a practicing personal trainer the same way that like a doctor or a lawyer is always a practicing one, because you never stop learning. Each individual that I talk to and work with is a new experience for me in some way or another. Everybody is truly different. And so to have worked with as many people as I have, it just helps make me a more well-rounded trainer. And that's where I cut my teeth, was in that environment. once the place got sold off, which wasn't it wasn't anything against the place. It was doing just fine. The owners just decided that they were done with it and were going to invest into something else at the time. And at that point, I had, all the people who were there who were just basically an instant base of clientele that, everyone was fine with. There was not like a non-compete and everything. And so they wanted to keep, though most of them wanted to keep working out. So then I had to figure out a way to do it where I could come to their home, um, and be able to do it with limited amount of equipment. But coming to their home also gave them the convenience of somebody shows up at their door. It takes away their ability to, you know, drive past the place on the way home and say, ah, not tonight,
It's
or it's
accountability.
harder for them to cancel.
Mm-hmm.
They know I'm coming, right? And at the end of it, as soon as it's over, I take off. And then if you want it, you can jump into your own shower and you've got all your own stuff. And, if you got to get to work or, or make dinner or whatever the case is, it's like, I'm gone. You got no travel time. And so, and that just kind of built on its own. It was just like, first it was like, oh, well, I can come to people's places and I don't need a lot of, area to work in. And then there's also people who, and this was part of the concept of fitness together, but there's a lot of people who don't like the idea of training in front of other people at a gym. So the privacy was something that was a big selling point to them, and you don't get any more private than your own home or office. I've had people who would have me come to their offices, and they might have like an extra room or some space somewhere that we could do something in. So and basically that's what I've been doing since 2009. So about 15 years, and I've been a trainer since '05. So first 4 years was through Fitness Together, and
Mm-hmm.
then ever since then I've been on my own.
Yeah, and like I said in the beginning, your ability to look at somebody, assess them, and provide a customized workout is due to that
I've just
your
had it.
work background of at Fitness Together and that one-on-one
Mm-hmm,
approach. That's a really cool approach because you're right, people don't have anybody looking at them. They could wear whatever they want,
mm-hmm.
they can say whatever they want. It ends up being a therapy session, whether
Oh,
they're crabbing about their spouse or about work, or it gets it off their chest. But that's part of your holistic approach. Is not only do you look at, let's get weight off of you. How are we going to build muscle? It's how am I going to make this person a better person so when they walk out there, they feel better all the way around.
well, I mean, I've said a million times to people, it's like being a hairstylist or a bartender. I mean, it's just people open up to you and everything. And a lot of people they'll be like, I'm sorry, I know I keep going on about this. And I always tell people, don't apologize, because it's a healthy thing for you to
Mm-hmm.
be able to unload that and get that out. I've got someone who I'm usually catching at, like, she gets off of work at 5 and we're working out at like 5:05, so she's hot off of a day of work,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got a lot, she's got it the whole day to unload, and so she'll tell me the whole thing about her whole day. And but it's good because then she's gotten it out, and she's gotten it out of her system, and then when she sits down at dinner with her family that night, she's present, and
She's
she's not going
present.
to sit there and spend that dinner time unloading her day on
And
everybody.
everybody just has to sit there and listen. She got it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So she gets to listen to like what her kids did that day,
Yeah.
or how her husband was, or whatever the
It's a stress
case.
reliever.
So I always encourage my clients to, to talk to me and be as open as they feel comfortable with and everything. And and I've got clients, 15 years old that, I mean, they know everything in the world about me
Right.
too.
Sure.
So, you know,
So you go to their home. Do you bring equipment with you?
yes.
Okay.
So in some cases, people have home gyms that have been sitting there and they just don't know what to do with them. And then, so if that's the case, I try to teach them how they can use it. One of the things I've always tried to impress on people with my training is that I want it to be an education. I want it to be so they don't need to have me, and they know
Right.
what they're doing and why they're doing it, whether it's their food or their workouts. So if they have a workout machine that they spent a couple grand on, I'm going to teach them how to use it and how to get the most out of it. And we're going to use it in their workouts. If somebody doesn't have anything at all, I have a trunk full of equipment that I can bring in, and it's just simple stuff. It's a medicine ball, it's resistance bands. I do cardio boxing with people, I do calisthenics, I do yoga. I mean, it's just there's a million ways to work out where you don't need to have anything other than, like, a 5 by 5 area of, you know, floor to work with. So
And learning that and having somebody train you, you being the client on that, is a really great sustainable approach to fitness, because you can take that anywhere. You take the principles that Tommy teaches you, when he has you doing push-ups off your couch or a lunge off the stair or whatever he does. Uh, you could take that to, a work trip
I
at the
was
hotel, or
I was telling you earlier before we recorded how a buddy of mine came by last night, and he and I used to work out together, and um, not as clients, just as, he's with my friend, and but I've helped him with, his diet just a little here and there, and he told me last night, because it looked like he had lost some weight, and in fact he had dropped like 12 pounds. And he said, honestly, I have to thank you, because I know it was forever ago, but you had talked to me about, such and such, with his diet and everything. He's like, and it just always stuck with me, and I implemented that, these last few weeks and stuff. And it's like, oh well, that's nice to
that's
know that
nice.
something I said, like 10 years ago, is something he's still being able to use now. I know people who have worked with me and then taken the lessons they learned from me and helped either their spouse or a friend, help them lose weight, or get to whatever goal there is and stuff. And so it's like they pay it forward that way. It's cool. It's nice for it's that's the thing I love about this, is seeing results, seeing people who get uh, who feel better about themselves, who have learned something and now have a tool. And and one of my biggest things I love getting is people who come in with their blood work, you know
Hmm.
because how many doctors tell their patients, you need to work out, you need to exercise, and you need to watch your diet, and then they come to me and they actually do it. So then they go to the doctor, and then they get their 6 month blood work or whatever the case is, and then their, like, cholesterol is down, and their, and all sorts of stuff is great, and their blood pressure and all that. And not only are they excited and proud, but the doctors are always just like, I can't believe you did this.
Yeah.
And usually they know, because they before they even do the blood work, because you'll see when the person walks in the room, because they already physically look different at that point. But it's another way that it just comes back, and I'm just like, that's awesome. It's one of my favorite things.
So Tommy, tell me a little bit about, so you go to somebody's home. How long are your sessions generally?
They go anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. It starts with me, well, with them doing a warm up routine. It's usually about 6 minutes or so, just to get their blood flowing and get their muscles warmed up. And then, depending on whatever workout we do, it can be about 30 to 40 minutes or so. And then at the end, we do a total body stretch to loosen up the muscles and release any lactic acids, and then have some water afterwards to kind of flush any toxins that might have been released during the workout. And yeah, that's it.
Do you give them a little bit of a plan for the week to be able to work on their fitness goals when you're not there? Because a lot of people think when they work with a trainer
Mhm.
that they show up once a week with their trainer or twice a week, and then they don't have to do anything on those other days,
Yeah,
which is, and then it's the trainer's fault when they don't see the results that they want to see. So
right.
for you to get results, you have a trainer, and you have to put in the work off, the other days, so that you can be stronger for the trainer the next time, and life can progress. So how do you ensure that they have accountability throughout the week?
Well, it always comes down to the frequency of how often they're going to be with me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've got people who train with me twice a week. I've got someone who trains with me 6 days a week. So for him, I don't have to worry about him on any, he doesn't have any off days. So
Right.
for someone who is like, say, a twice a week person, then yeah, I will give them things to do. Now, again, it's a matter of how much they're willing to commit. So if they are only going to commit to doing one more day on their own, then then I will always give people something to do, and it's something that they don't they can do with whatever they have in their house, and
That's the cool part about it, because then they can do that when you're not there, and
yeah.
they don't have to drive up to a gym. They don't have to check in. They don't have to have their earphones. They don't have to do all of that, deal with people.
Right. And by the nature of the workouts, they also help people who travel a lot, because they're things that you can do at a hotel room too.
Right.
So, granted, they probably have a gym or whatever in the hotel, but I mean, even if you're staying at relatives or whatever and you got a room to yourself, or, just a little space, there are workouts that you can do in a relatively short amount of time. And you're just using your own body weight. And you'd be, a lot of people would be surprised at how much of a workout you can get with just your body weight.
Hmm. And you don't have to be in the Glen Ellen, Illinois area for Tommy to train you. He is also available by Zoom, correct?
I do Zoom. I do always prefer to be with people in person as much as I can, um, because I think doing anything in person with somebody, just sharing the same space and sharing that energy in the room is important. It also gives me a better look at what people are
Mhm.
doing. However, one of the things that came out of COVID was learning how to be able to train people, you know, over Zoom, which was for me something new and something I had to adapt to and learn about, and find the best way to be able to do that through a video process. Um, I don't do it a lot, but it is something that I still do. If, say, sometimes it's just from a constraint situation, it'll work better for the client to jump online and do it. And so if that's the case, then great. Sometimes, how, like, you're sick but you feel fine, but you just want to make sure you're not contagious, and well, then we can do it on there,
Mhm.
because you still feel up for it, but you just want to make sure you don't get anyone else sick. Yeah, all right, we jump online. So it's an option, and
It's an effective option,
it's
though. I
it's
mean,
it's oh, it's great to have. I'm glad that I had, and I'll tell you something. I mean, it got me business wise through COVID,
oh yeah.
and I mean, I lost 0 clients during that entire time, and in one case, I actually had a client who used to live about 2 minutes away from me. He moved to Tennessee for 2.5 years, and in that 2.5 years, we still trained 3 days a week online while he was out down there, and then he ended up moving back up here 2 minutes away down the street. So
Well,
now
there it is.
so now he's back, but we never stopped working out, even though he had moved away, and we never planned on coming back. But he was perfectly fine with us, just, and so was I, and it worked. We've made it work. So,
So if you live in Tennessee or anywhere else, you could have Tommy be your trainer. And I'm telling you,
which, again, that's just the fact that he wanted to stay with me and keep doing it, and saw the value in it enough to go to those lengths, even though he
oh,
was moving. That means a lot to me.
eh,
That just, it really, that's what makes me want to, work my hardest for
well,
people.
you appreciate loyalty too,
Yeah,
because you're loyal.
right.
You know, um, you have worked with clients with physical disabilities and limitations before.
Yeah.
How do you approach training those?
It always, yeah, it obviously depends on whatever the limitation is, but there's, I've I have yet to find anything that I couldn't work around. I've had people who have had, neck fusion. They've got back problems, knee replacements, hip replacements. They've had strokes. They've had heart attacks. I have somebody who has a pacemaker right now, and there's always a way to exercise and do something around all of those things,
Mhm.
and sometimes they may seem like small things, but they matter, and just staying active is what's going to give you your best quality of life. So,
So people ask us a lot, well, if I only have 30 minutes, what should I do? Should I do strength or cardio? What would you tell them?
I mean, if you only have 30 minutes, you could do a combination of both. I mean, it depends on how you classify cardio, because if you were to do, I would say something along the lines of circuit training would be the way to go, because you can do resistance exercises like push-ups and squats, planks, wall sits, uh, and your heart rate's going to get up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're doing, let's say you're doing 15, 25 body weight squats, I mean, your heart rate's going to get up there if you do it right after a set of push-ups. And then if you, go into a plank or a wall sit, same thing. You're keeping your heart rate up the entire time. There's, yoga where if you are using dynamic resistance, which is where you create your own resistance, you can get your heart rate up from anywhere to 120, 140, just doing that. And you're not, doing any impact on your joints or anything like that. So there's a few different ways you can do it. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah,
And
you.
there's not, like, I wouldn't say like it's all cardio or like I said, I think it's kind of a combination of the two
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to do it within a time restraint.
Tommy works on a lot of. He comes from the functional fitness approach, and he does a lot of compound body movements so that your body's heart rate can get up, and
Hmm.
you can do a really great workout in a very express amount of time. I'm sure your clients are busy. They're all professionals. They're
Yeah.
busy people. You know, they can't commit sometimes to 2 hours in the gym, an hour every day.
No. And most of them, really, honestly, they don't need to. I mean, it's not the amount of time that you spend in the
Mhm.
gym, it's the quality of what you're doing in there. um it's like when I do cardio, I don't ever do more than a half hour of cardio. I just increase the intensity,
Right.
then I'm like, I'm not going to do an hour on the elliptical. You're going to get more out of doing a half hour at a higher intensity than if you did an hour at a moderate intensity.
Hmm.
So it's not about how long you work out. Most people who spend 2-3 hours in the gym are talking for about an hour, 2 hours of that 3 hours that
Oh
they're
yeah,
there. I mean,
looking at their phone.
yeah, and hanging out with people, which is
Mhm.
fine, because I mean, back in the day, I used to get my workout in, and then I liked hanging out, and
Mhm.
talking to people and stuff. But don't tell people that you're at the gym 3 hours a day and act like you're working out all the time. No, no, it's
Could somebody hire you for a Zoom personal training session that doesn't have any equipment in their home? And would you be able to train them that way?
absolutely.
So you work with women a lot. Do you find that women have this fitness myth that if they work with weights that they're going to get bulky?
The thing that I love is, I mean, because guys do this too. They're like, well, I don't want to get
I
too
go too
bulky.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if you wake up tomorrow morning and you look like the Incredible Hulk, I'm like, we'll fix it. All right. And then I want to know what you did so I can, I'm like, it doesn't happen that way. You you tone your muscle, you build some muscle. If you feel like you're getting to a point that you don't like the way that that looks, then you scale it back. It's you have complete control. That's the thing, is you really have a lot of control over your body, and if you, it's just a matter of having the discipline to be able to know how to speak and communicate with your body and tell it what you want. So if you feel like you're, but you got to realize putting on muscle is a lot of work and takes a long time. When I was doing bodybuilding competitions, I did 4 in my career. I usually did them a year to 2 years apart. And the reason is because it's going to take that long for me to make a noticeable difference from the last competition I was in to the next one.
Mhm.
My goal was always, it wasn't about the trophies. It was about, I want to see the pictures from show 1 up against the show 2 ones. What looks better? What did I do? And then show 3 needs to look better, and so on and so forth. So all that is to say that it takes that long to put that kind of muscle on. So, and women develop differently than men. And so it's something that I think resistance training is one of the best things that you can do,
Hmm.
male or female, and is not something you should be afraid of, and certainly not be afraid of, putting on too much muscle or anything like that. If you feel like you don't like the way that it looks or the way that you feel with it or whatever, it's real easy to turn it around.
And a lot of it has to do with your diet and how you're eating too. I mean, if you're lifting weights and you're eating cheeseburgers, well, you're just going to generally look a little bit bigger, I guess. But
Right.
you have to have a balanced diet behind it. So the strength that you are building, it pops and shows,
Yeah.
and
Most people are usually pretty happy if they got a little bit of muscle showing.
oh yeah,
So, I mean, I don't know. I've yet to meet anyone who really had an honest complaint being like, I don't know.
yeah,
I just.
yeah, right. So let's talk about your shows, the fitness shows that you've entered into, the bodybuilding shows. I mean, I was there for the first one,
You
and
were
I
there at
believe for all of them.
you were there at, I think, almost all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and you looked different at every show. I mean, you looked incredible
Well,
at every show.
that was always the plan. It was the thing was is because my parents had been involved in it. It was something that, and plus I worked out as much as I did all the time. So by the time I was in my early 20s, people were asking me, how come why don't you compete? And Larry, my trainer,
Mhm.
he wanted me to compete as a teenager when I was like 18 years old. I didn't want anything to do with it because I had grown up around it. And I'm talking about I was like a little kid, and at a bodybuilding competition, they start at like 5 in the morning with check-in, and this goes all day long with the judging during the morning and the show at night. And then if you have to stay to the end, they go almost till midnight. It is a very long day.
And mind you, these contestants aren't eating much.
Right. It's a very, very long day. But even as a kid, just sitting and waiting, what I used to do is I'd sit there, they do the judging during the day, and I'd sit in the audience during the day, and I have a notebook, and I would judge all the classes because there was nothing else to do. There was no Game Boy, there were no phones,
Mhm.
there was nothing to do. It
You got to
was a
pay attention.
long, boring, boring day. I hated going to bodybuilding shows. But that was it. But so I learned what the judges were looking for though too, you know. But I also learned that a lot of those judges owned all the gyms that these people went to,
Mhm.
and that there was a whole lot of favoritism going on, and people getting trophies from their, the judges who, own the gyms for their people because they want them to,
Mm.
be able to say that they won. So that disenchanted me from it because I'm like, it's not a level playing field. And even with that aside, everybody is so different. Someone's got the income to be able to pay for having all these supplements and this type of diet, where somebody may not.
Mhm.
Somebody might have to work 25 hours a week and the other guy works 60. So it's like, how do so I just at that point checked out on the whole thing. And then around 25, I had put on a significant amount of weight. I had been putting on a lot of muscle, but I had also been eating a lot of garbage too. And once again, one of my friends, a couple of my buddies, I was talking to at a party, and they said, "Hey, what would you, why don't you try doing a bodybuilding competition?" And at that point, I thought to myself, I then came up with two reasons to do it. One was I would force me to kick off the weight that I had put on,
Mhm.
and number two, I decided that I just wanted to see if I could do it. Could I do the training? Could I lose the weight? Could I get in competition state and get up in nothing but my skivvies in front of 300 plus people and do a bodybuilding posing routine? Can I do it? I don't care if I place, if I get a trophy or anything like that. Just can I
Can
do
you
it?
get up there
Right.
and do it?
And so that was my goal. And so I spent the next 12 weeks. I lost 50 pounds in 12 weeks, which I don't recommend.
No, no, it's a special type of diet.
Well, and even then, it was more aggressive than it should have been. But I did, and I went up there, I competed, and as soon as I walked off the stage, I kept saying like, "This is a one-time thing. I'm doing this once, and I'm never doing it again." And as soon as I walked off the stage, I said, "I'm doing this again," because I was like, "Now I know I can do it. Can I do it better
Mhm.
the next time?" And that's what it became: is can I do it better time after
And
time?
you did.
Yeah. And I did, after about 4 shows, the last 2 shows I did because I was actually training. I trained 2 girls for their first bodybuilding competitions, and knowing what a hard day it is to go through, the only way I could be there with them on the day of the show for everything is if I was competing in the show myself, so I could be backstage with them
Mm.
as their coach and everything. So I did the shows just to be there with them. So the first girl, she got first place, and the other one got second place, and it was their first bodybuilding competitions, and that was a really cool thing too to
I,
see them.
I want to highlight what Tommy just said, and this goes to his commitment and his loyalty. He did a 12-week kick your butt, diet down, step on stage in his skivvies, load carb, deload carb. I mean the stuff that they have to go through, tan himself, go through all of that, crabby for 12 weeks, no restaurants for 2 of his clients, just so he could be backstage with them. That's the loyalty that I'm talking about with you. And that's what you show your clients all the time. That's pretty cool. I just wanted to
I don't.
highlight that.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't know. Like I just felt like, you need to have someone back there to help get you through that day,
It's amazing.
So,
That's really amazing. So, Resistance Pro, tell us about that. Tell us how you got started into wrestling. That's pretty cool.
so I was thinking about doing a fifth show just to do, and it was going to be my last show. I was like, I'll do one more bodybuilding show, and it was just because I felt like, I had done all that I was going to do with it, and I was just ready to move on to something else. But right around that time, I have been a big professional wrestling fan since my 20s, since my early 20s. I wasn't so much as a kid, but right around 20 years old is when I got into it. My favorite band happens to be the Smashing Pumpkins. Now, in 2011, it was announced that there would be an independent wrestling company in Chicago that would be headed up by Billy Corgan, who is the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins. So for me, this was crazy because it's like my 2 favorite things. It's wrestling and my favorite band all coming together into one thing, and it was called Resistance Pro. So their first show was on Black Friday of 2011. My brother and I went to it, and it was very cool. And like within the next week or 2 after that, they put out an open call. They were doing a like an American Idol style audition process for people who had not wrestled before but would like to get involved. And so I ended up going to this, because not one of my friends would forgive me if I didn't go and try. So basically, I stood up on stage in front of Billy Corgan for the first time. I'm seeing this guy in person, and the 2 owners, Jock and Gabe Barron, and then 2 wrestlers. And so they basically had me as a manager, play the part of a manager, and what their job is to do is to put over their respective wrestler that they represent, whether it's a good guy or a bad guy. So they had me just improv. Basically, it's just stand there with the good guy, talk about the next match he's going to have and why he's going to win. Do the same thing with the bad guy. Billy asked me a few questions, like where you live. I told him Glen Ellen, and he's from around this area over here. He was in Glendale Heights.
Oh, okay. That's
He
cool.
went to Glenbard North. I went to Glenbard East. So he knows the area, and he's got family here in Glen Ellen. And so it was nice. We just kind of like, shot the shit a little bit with each other and stuff. And I was, um, I was very fortunate because I was the second person who went up, because the first guy who went up, like none of us knew what to expect.
Right.
So the poor guy, whoever was first, was the one who was going to, have to bite that bullet. So once I saw what they were doing, I knew what they were looking for. So anyway, by the end of the night, it ended up being a fun night. Everyone was just there kind of watching everybody audition. It was a real loose atmosphere. And at the end of the night, it was a bad snowstorm, and Billy was waiting for his buddies to get their stuff together. And I figure I'm never going to see this guy again in my
Mhm.
life. So I walked up to him and just shook his hand and said, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for tonight. It was really awesome. And I got to just say thank you for all the music that you've done because it's been a tremendous influence and you're my absolute favorite." And, just
Mhm.
left it at that. I'm like, I didn't want to be too gushy. And he, uh, he said, "Thank you very much. I appreciate it," and everything. He goes, "I think we might have a spot for you."
Ooh.
And so I was not expecting that. And so then, but I'm still like, that could be mean anything, So, and
Here's the broom.
yeah. So then, but yeah, then a couple of weeks later, they got in touch with me and they basically said that's between you and like a couple other guys. Now later on I found out this was all a bunch of BS, but they were like, it's between you and a couple other guys. Whoever can pre-sell the most tickets will be on the show. And so I went to work and I called in every favor I had. I got on Facebook, I got in touch with everybody. I was like, I don't even care if you go, just buy a ticket.
Mhm.
Okay. If you can. I'm not, I never asked for anything, and in spite of, I ended up selling 43 tickets to this thing. And I would say about 40 people showed up out of the 43. I
Mhm.
mean, they didn't just buy tickets.
Mhm.
And this whole thing was to do just one show. So that was it. It wasn't to be a full-time wrestler or anything like that. It was just like you get a spot on one of the shows. Okay. So I did the first show. It was just a small spot. I didn't wrestle or anything like that because I didn't know how to or anything, but I was part of the show. And after that, they booked me for the next show and for the next show. And then for the entire run of that company, I was on all but one show, which is
That's amazing.
6 years or so.
Mhm.
The well, no, I'm sorry, it was actually 8 years of that company, and um, I was on every single one of those shows. I never in a million years thought it would ever happen. I eventually did go into wrestling training and learned how to wrestle, and not wasn't great, but I was good as a character, and I was good on the microphone. I was the lead of a faction called Body Magic, and we were all supposed to be like the guys who are the jerks at the gym,
Mhm.
who the big egos. And one of the guys was a model. I was supposed to be the personal trainer to the stars, so it was just an embellished version of myself. My name was Eric St. Vaughn,
Mhm.
and our team was called Body Magic. And as Body Magic, we actually got very popular. I brought us out to the ring with a rap that I did every time. That was our entrance music. And I always carried a shake weight with me. And those two things,
Shake weight.
the rap and the shake weight, are what got us to be popular. And it's the funniest things in wrestling that make you a big hit. But we got over big with the crowd. Next thing you see is a bunch of shirts in the crowd, Body Magic shirts, people bringing signs and Body Magic chants. And, the bigger you get, the closer you get to titles and stuff. And we ended up getting as far as winning the Resistance Pro Tag Team Champions. And then that was something from that night of going to that thing, I never in a million years. And along the way, got to meet so many wrestlers that I grew up watching on television and have matches with a lot of them too. So, I mean, it was just an incredible experience. I could give you 100 Billy Corgan stories and things that I've gotten to do with him, and he and I got to have a good relationship with each other, and he really was one of the best people and so incredibly generous to me, and I could never thank him enough for everything he's done for
That's
me.
so cool. That's so heartfelt too. I've seen you in action, and actually, I brought my daughter with me and your sister,
Yeah,
and you you guys work hard up there. I mean,
yeah,
you are taking hits like crazy. I mean, I hear it. I'm like, ooh, ow,
yeah.
ooh. You guys are bruised
Well,
up,
it's
and
always funny to me. People are like, "Well, doesn't that hurt?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it
that
hurts a lot.
hurts.
Yeah."
Sure, that hurts, and it you could hear it. I mean, it's loud,
Fall
and
backwards as fast and as hard as you can onto your back onto plywood.
yeah.
I mean, I don't.
While you're
I
trying to keep up this persona,
Right, and
and
you have to act and be a character the entire time too. You can't break character even if you're in a lot of pain. So it's an interesting form of entertainment.
Did you find that your background with fitness and body mechanics helped you become a better wrestler because you are aware of your body and how it works?
I do, and I don't really know what else to add to it because you basically just said it. It was, yeah, I was because of, if I brought anything into it, it was just at least, I had a good sense of myself and knowing where I was, and it's called ring awareness of
Mm-hmm.
where you are and where your body is and everything. It's real easy with like a crowd chanting your name or booing you or whatever the case is, or just a random guy screaming something at you to get distracted.
Sure.
And so if you get distracted mentally, then physically you may, you know, end up in a different spot too. But yeah, that helped. But it's a very unique thing, and it's a different kind of training. And I ended up having the unique opportunity to work with a girl. She used to come to the shows
Mm-hmm.
when she was young. I think she might have been like 12, 13 or something like that when I first met her. And then when she was 17, she knew she wanted to get into professional wrestling. And so one of the owners of the company knew her family and got her in touch with me. She was too young to really go to a professional wrestling school still. Plus, she was in high school and just wouldn't have the time for it and everything. So, but what we did was, is I got her physically ready for it, because when you go to like a professional wrestling session, you start out with 500 squats, and then you work out for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So you're exhausted before you even get into the ring and start doing anything wrestling. And people who go in on their first day, they're, throwing up and all that stuff.
Sure.
I wanted her to go in on that first day ready to rock. So she had her 500 squats down before she even got to her first day of practice. And then so I then handed her off to the man who was my trainer, and he took it from there. And now she's a regular wrestler. She's been wrestling for 2.5 years now, and is considered a big up and coming name right now.
That's amazing.
And it's just cool to be to have been a part of that journey. And it's like, to think that I would ever have gotten into wrestling, or even gotten to a point where I could then pass something from
Sure.
that on, because we didn't just do the training part. I taught,
You mentored her.
yeah, wrestling psychology. We would watch tapes of other, pro wrestling matches and things like that. And I would have her do, commentary. I turn the audio off and have her do commentary. I wanted her to pay attention to the refs, learn how to cut a promo. I mean, we practiced on
That's awesome.
all sorts of stuff just beyond the physicality of it. So, but it was a lot of fun, and I think helped kind of give her a little bit of a foundation that gave her a head start against the rest of the
Yeah, you
people.
gave her again, you that holistic approach. You kind of looked at it from all angles. So I said that we had an update at the end of the show, so I just want to make this very quick. The beginning of June, we are going to have a group coaching platform where Tommy and I are going to be working together. It's going to be a hybrid model where it's a one-to-one coaching platform and a group approach. You're going to have a ton of accountability, and I'm super excited that Tommy has agreed to be the personal training aspect of it. So not only will you be getting a 12-week online coaching video modules, you'll be getting one-to-one weight loss coaching with me, and then I think, I don't know, 8 or so sessions with Tommy. So it's going to be a holistic approach to weight loss, and weight loss will definitely be redefined with this program. So thank you again for all of you tuning in and listening. We hope that you interact with us on the Facebook group. We thank you all. And Tommy, can you please tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you? You guys got to sign up today. He is incredible. He's always offering lovely deals because he actually cares about making a difference. So Tommy, tell us how you can get a hold of you.
You can find me on Facebook under Tommy Else Personal Trainer. You can find me on, you can get me on my email at tommyelse@gmail.com, and just send me a message. And I always do a free consultation. and a free workout with people so that, you know, we can sit and talk and discuss your goals and find out what it is you're hoping to achieve, and then I can tell you what my plan would be, and then give you a workout to kind of give you an idea of how I work and some of the things that we do, just so that you know what you're getting into before you make any sort of commitment. You know, I want everyone to feel comfortable about working with me and what their expectations and goals are, and then that way, you know, we know we're on the same page, and then we can move forward together.
You could also get a hold of Tommy on the Trippi Coaching Podcast Facebook page. So you could, if you don't remember all the other handles,
Yes, if nothing
reach
else,
out
you
here.
can always find either of us there.
Right.
Well, thank you for having me on as a guest
It's been a pleasure.
on our show.
Right.
As always, I of course have been who else but Tommy else.
And I am Andrea Trippi. And until next time, here's to a healthier, more confident you.
The Trippi Coaching Podcast is produced and mixed by me. Who else but Tommy else? Theme song provided by Professor Click. Be sure and check him out at professorclick.com. All one word, KLIQ.com. The content provided in the Trippi Coaching Podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical, health, wellness advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.